1. So I get asked for help quite often while doing my grocery shopping. If I stop by after work, it doesn't matter which grocery store except for Aldi's. At this point, I'm kinda used to it, and honestly, most folks are rather polite and nice about the mix-up. But sadly, that's not always true. It is almost always while I'm cruising an aisle eyeballing the shelves for what I want or might want, and one of my fellow shoppers asks me for help. Now, most of them apologize and are polite about it. If I know the store I'm at the time, I will actually help them or help them find an employee. If they are rude, I typically just ignore them and go about my business, and they cart off in a huff. Like some of you, I've had folks get irate with me, but only once to an extent where I had to explain to a floor manager what was going on after they tried to berate me for being rude, and wound up talking to the store's manager, who let them both know they were being stupid. This stems from my work uniforms. I work for a guard company, and a lot of their uniform shirts are grey. I've only had this start happening when they started to switch to using our newer polo-style shirts, which only have a small logo over the left half of the chest. The old uniforms had a large visible patch on the left shirt sleeves. The ensemble is completed with my charcoal grey work trousers and my black work shoes. Apparently, quite a few folks think I look like some sort of a manager and stop me to ask for help. For me, this usually happens at Hy-Vee. The worst was an occasion where both a random Karen and a junior manager both thought I worked there. It started out like most of my post-work shopping trips. I'm cruising down the aisles looking for what I want for a few meals. I have a big, obvious shopping cart, my personal coat tucked over the bars, and am occasionally selecting items to put into my cart. I have no obvious or overt grocery store equipment in my cart or on my person. I am at it for about 20 minutes, and while I'm cruising down the pasta and rice aisle, I feel someone staring at me rather intensely. Notice a random woman standing at the end of the aisle glaring at me and tapping her foot with her arms crossed. I'm at least 30 feet away. There is ample room to go by me, and I have not encountered her before. I don't really look at her again until I notice her move up the aisle a bit out of the corner of my eye, and tapping her foot louder and making that obnoxious ahem noise that makes you want to box their ears to teach them some manners. I made the mistake of making eye contact while looking over and looking confused. At that point, she stomped up to me and stood there, hands on hips, trying to glare me down. She is starting to creep into my personal bubble, and I am not fond of strangers invading my personal space at random. So I step behind my cart to put something between her and me. This apparently only makes things worse. Her death glare intensifies, and I can tell she is working up to a shrieking fit with huge eyes, flared nostrils, and even foot stamping. I decided I didn't want to imitate a Grecian hero and fight off an angry harpy, and moved to swing my cart around and go somewhere else. She grabs my cart before I can get turned around and forcing me to confront her. Normally, I would keep my cool and talk my way out of it, but I am exhausted from a 12-hour shift and dealing with my own personal workplace problems, like trying to train a new technophobe guard who literally got lost walking in a straight line. My temper is slightly frayed, and my mental and emotional energies are at a low ebb. I let a bit of my temper leak out. I told her to let go of my damn cart, get out of my way, leave me alone, and go bother someone else. I yanked my cart free briefly before she grabs it again and begins the show. She literally shrieks and then starts screaming how I have to help her, it's my job, and she will go get a manager if I don't apologize and do what she says. I tell her I don't work there, and I don't have to do squat and to get lost. She shoves my cart at me and storms off hollering about how she will get a manager. With her gone, I make good on my opportunity to escape to continue shopping. I was figuring that the supervisor would search for an errant employee and would not find any among their own to be at fault, and it would become a moot point. I was apparently sorely mistaken. Another 10 minutes into my shopping excursion, and the Karen storms up the aisle and a junior manager in tow. She is looking vindictive and triumphant. and the junior manager is looking annoyed and already glaring daggers at me. I roll my eyes as they walk up, as I know what is going to happen. The Karen then proceeds to holler at volume, how I wouldn't help her, and how I was rude and should be punished or fired. I just start shaking my head. I have seen this guy before, and I shopped at the store on a regular basis because it was on my way home from work. I figured he would recognize me and tell the lady to leave me alone. Instead, the little shit proceeds to dress me down and berate me for not helping a customer, and that I would get a negative review on my performance evaluation, and that I would have to clock out and go home. Needless to say, my temper was climbing rapidly, and I was honestly seriously considering giving him an earful of what my drill instructors called colorful euphemisms of encouragement for performance. I started with my best "you are both fucking idiots" look. I am not wearing any uniform like anyone else in this store. I have a name badge with my picture, name, and company I am currently contracted to as a guard. I look nothing like anyone in this store. And even the lanyard my ID is on has a company name on it, and is a different color than the ones they use. I looked both of them square in the eyes each and said, "No, I don't know either of you jack shit. I don't take orders from people I don't work for, and certainly not some random, obnoxious woman harassing me while I shop. I'm managing to keep myself mostly in check, rather than lighting them up, but I know that won't do me any good." The Karen stares open-mouthed, her gaping maw like a hideous, drowning deep-sea fish, pulled from the slimy depths' vacant, buggy eyeballs. The junior manager looks positively stunned and starts getting red in the face. I can tell he is about to unload, and the Karen is looking pretty smug with herself. I know they are likely going to double-team me if I don't cut them off. Before he can do his impression of Mount Vesuvius and bury us all in the ash of his blind stupidity, I cut off his brewing tirade. I tell him to look at my uniform, look closely. I asked him if anyone in Hy-Vee wears grey polyester polos with my company's name on the chest. He looks briefly stunned for a moment. I then ask him if he has ever seen me working there before. I can see the volcano that was building has gone, and the hamster is starting to crank up the wheel. I then showed him my ID badge and asked if this looked like it said Hy-Vee anywhere on it. His bubble of confusion pops, and he has clearly realized he has made a mistake. Instead of apologizing, telling the Karen to leave me alone, he doubles down on his stupid. He proceeds to scold me for not being helpful and demanding that I apparently do his job for him. I explain I don't have to, especially when someone is being rude and harassing me while I am shopping. And especially when he is responsible for helping customers and not me. He didn't like me telling him he could just as easily have helped her, sent her on her way, and then come to find whoever was causing the problem rather than creating a public scene. I'm about to head for the customer service counter, find the store manager, and get the bozos to leave me alone, when I spot said store manager cruising down the aisle because someone had told him someone was yelling and causing a commotion. I didn't know this until after this had been resolved, so I waved him over, trying not to let my anger leak out too much more. This guy knows me on sight, as I showed up often enough and I sometimes chatted with the staff while shopping. He greets me politely and asks what he could help me with. I then point out the Karen and his idiot employee, and explain how they are both harassing me. He puts up the stop hand until I am done to cut them off from interrupting. He gets this fairly annoyed look and turns to his wayward junior and tells him to go wait in his office. He then tells the Karen to leave the store because she has harassed other customers before. She tried to bicker and argue, but he cut her off and wouldn't let her lay any of her bad behavior on anyone but herself. He had to threaten her with the cops before she left. He apologized, and I said it was no big deal, and he walked with me to checkout and made sure the Karen wasn't lingering and had indeed left. She was apparently banned from all local Hy-Vees for 2 months for her bad behavior. I came by next week, and the store manager found me while I was shopping and explained that the employee had been promoted to a junior at the company's request and had been screwing up by the numbers. He apologized for the mess, but I was cool with it, no harm, no foul. Junior screw-up was suspended that night and then fired the next week, apparently. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. I still shop there because aside from one-off incidents, most of my trips went well. 2. It was a few weeks ago that I was supervising my cashiers. I manage your customer service at a certain retail chain, and I see her, definitely a Karen. I'm already bracing myself. I'm distracted by another cashier, so I don't see where she ends up until I hear the raised voice. I look down the row of registers and, yep, she's hurling abuse at one of my girls. I go over to the other cashier, give her a tap on the elbow, the signal I use with my peeps, to let them know I'm taking over and to remove themselves from whatever poor excuse of a human they've had to deal with, and situate myself in front of Karen so my cashier can make her escape. Hi there, ma'am. How can I help you?
You people have gotten my order wrong.
She emphasizes this by picking up the packaged curtain in front of her and slamming it on the counter. Oh, I'm so sorry. May I see your order slip? She tosses that down too, and I pick it up and compare it to what's in front of me. Wouldn't you know it? The item code SKU matches. And oh look, the item description on the packaging slip is exactly the same. Well, ma'am, it looks like what was delivered to you is actually what was ordered. If you just wanted to do a return, we can get that done right now.
No, I don't want a goddamn return. I want the item I ordered. I did the order here with you people, and you got it wrong. They must have put in the wrong curtain, because this is definitely not what I agreed to buy.
BS, because you literally have to sign an order to confirm that you reviewed it before it's finalized. But I don't say this out loud, obviously. People are staring at this point, so I start guiding her towards one of our desks a bit out of the way, and call for a floor associate to meet us. I'm sorry about that. Come this way and we'll get a new order completed for you and do a quick exchange with the old ones. The associate, Will, meets us at the computer and I explain the situation to him. No problem, Will says. Which curtain did you want to order as a replacement?
Well, how am I supposed to know?
Will and I look at Karen. We look at each other. We look back at Karen. She must see something in our expressions because she adds,
I just know it wasn't the one that I was shipped.
Poor Will looks lost, so I try and guide things along. Do you by any chance remember the name and style of curtain? Karen shakes her head. No. The name of the brand? No. Can you describe it to us, please?
It kinda looks like this one.
She holds up the wrong curtain.
But it's not this.
Will has officially checked out and is just enjoying the show at this point. Alright, was it a different color? No. Different size, same brand, but different style. Did the name sound similar? Anything?
Anything, woman, please. No, I don't think so.
Then Karen gets a grand old idea.
You guys had it on display in your curtain room. It's how I did the order. I gave the worker the ticket from the display, but obviously she must have typed in the wrong code or something. I'll go back there and get the ticket again.
She walks off and leaves, Will and me staring after her. Should I go help her? Will obviously wants the answer to be no. No, I can guarantee she'll be back in a minute. Just hang out in case we can convince her to still do an order. Lo and behold, Karen comes storming to the desk, spitting mad. As expected, the mysterious curtain that is like the one she ordered, but definitely not the one she ordered, has disappeared. Who would have thunk it?
This isn't the first time you people have done this, rants Karen. I will never shop here again. I always regret coming here. I can't believe this is how you treat customers. Oh, I am so furious. I'm steaming. I wanted that curtain, and now it's just gone, and none of you know which one it is. Who's in charge here?
Will, the traitor, points to me and slowly backs away, scooting himself around the corner and out of sight.
Your employees are useless. This wouldn't even be a problem if she had done my order right the first time. And now you can't even find a simple curtain. I'm going to write a letter. I'm going to write about how terrible this store is. I want to know the address of your headquarters, and I want to know who your president is.
I sigh and walk her back to the registers, process her return, hand her the receipt with our corporate number, tell her the name of our CEO, and wish her luck. 3. I'm currently working in a store as a cashier, where we sell furniture and stuff for your house. All you need to furniture your home, basically. It's a big chain, so lots of things are the same throughout the chain worldwide. Most of our customers are nice, understanding, and friendly. We do have rude customers and a lot of misunderstandings. But the customers that annoy me the most are those who don't read our signs, and then complain about us not being clear about things. Most of our big furniture, shelves, dressers, beds, etc., are packed in flat boxes. To minimize the fill space, not all comes in one package, but in more boxes. We have big signs telling the customer that the furniture comes in 2 or more boxes, and you have to have box 1 and 2 or more. Each box has a big number in a yellow square, so you know if you have all of them. Normally the customers understand me when I tell them they need another box to complete the furniture. This one didn't understand for some reason, and I'm still wondering if I was unclear in my communication. Excuse me, but you're missing a box. No, I'm not. I only need one of this shelf. Yes, I understand that, but to assemble it, you have to have box 1 and 2. I only want one shelf, not 2. This shelf comes in 2 boxes. You won't be able to assemble it if you don't have both boxes. This is only half a shelf. You don't get it. I only need one shelf. Don't try and sell me more than I need. I do understand, one shelf only. What I'm trying to say is that you only have half a shelf there, and you need one more box, which contains the other half, to have one shelf. I only want one. Then another customer chimes in. Are you deaf? She knows that. You need 2 boxes to get one shelf, as she keeps telling you. Look at the huge square with the number. It says 2. You need the other box with the huge square saying 1. That way, you have one shelf. It also says so on the sign just above the boxes. Oh, so I need 2 boxes to have one shelf? Why didn't you say so? I'm internally screaming by this point. I tried to, but it seemed you didn't understand my way of explaining it. Now you can pay and leave your cart here while you go and get box 1. Also, we currently have changed our politic, so you aren't allowed to leave the store at the entrance, but have to use the exit. To help the customer, or more likely the greeter, the store has put up a large sign with a large stop on it, and text telling them that this is no exit, and where they have to go to get out of the store. Customers walk right past it, don't seem to register it's there. It's the cashier's job to be a greeter now and then. I stop so many customers on their way out through the entrance. Most look confused, but turn around and use the exit. Then we have those who try to argue with me. Excuse me, but you can't get out here. You have to use the exit.
But my car is just out there.
Points at the parking lot, indicating their car is close to the entrance. And you can get to the parking lot from the exit too.
Can I just go through here?
No, as you can read on the sign, this is no longer a possible exit. You turn around and go to the exit, glancing at the sign. Excuse me, but you can't get out here. You have to use the exit.
But I'm pregnant.
But you still have to use the exit, store policy.
Come on, I'm parked just right here.
Even so, we're talking about 200 meters difference between here and your car when you use the exit. Turns around and heads to the exit. She didn't look like she was unable to walk the 200 meters extra. Excuse me, but you can't get out here. You have to use the exit.
But I have to get down to the parking lot under the store with these carts.
There's an elevator at the exit bigger than this one, and it goes to both parking lots. They turn and head to the exit. As if I would lead them towards an exit where they can't get down to the parking lot. I'm still trying to figure out how to help those customers without getting into an argument about things. I mean, how do you help people like them? 4. I used to work at a coffee shop kiosk at a train station in the UK, and I had countless occasions where I had passengers asking me for advice about their rail travel. I would help where I could, but more often than not, I would direct them to the station staff who were actually responsible for dealing with these sorts of inquiries. since it wasn't my job. Also, the information office was literally 10 feet away from the kiosk, and was clearly posted with a large sign and everything. But as you're probably aware, people seem to lack the ability to see and understand things. They see, but they do not observe. I have lost count of how many times clueless people would wander past the exit multiple times, even though the exit was clearly marked. Anyway, most of these other stories are fairly unremarkable, but then one evening, one man took stupid to a whole new level. It was late evening, and I had about an hour left in my shift, and I had been there for 10 hours by this point, and I was due back the following morning at 5 a.m., so I was looking forward to being done for the evening. Since it's a small kiosk, there would often only be one employee on shift. Anyway, this passenger approaches, and this is the conversation that followed. This was several years ago, so it isn't verbatim, just going off my best recollection of the encounter.
Hello. Could you tell me where I need to get the train to York?
No, you'll need to be on the other side of Platform 2, since Platform 1 only has London-bound trains, and there should be screens with train departures and staff over there who can help you, but I don't know exactly which train you'll need or what time it leaves, sorry.
Okay, thanks. I fell asleep on the train and missed my connection.
That sucks, sorry to hear it.
I know, right? Can I get a latte?
Sure. Then the guy goes to the fridge to get a sandwich, and I begin making his drink, and I think it's all good. Just another guy who I've helped as best I can, and a customer that I can serve and make the evening a little less dull, since it was usually dead the hour before closing. As he's in the sandwich fridge, a train pulls into Platform 2. The guy looks at the train, then to me.
Is that the train to York?
I don't think so. It says Hull on the side, so that's where I think it's headed.
Okay.
As he hands me the sandwich to heat.
So, do you know when the next train to York is?
I'm afraid not. You'll have to speak with the station staff.
Why can't you help me?
Because I work for a coffee shop. I haven't memorized the train schedule, sorry.
Are you sure you can't help me? I should have arrived by now, and I really don't want to have to wait for a couple of hours.
Sorry, I don't know. Like I said, the station staff can help you out. By this point, the guy has paid, and he has his latte, but his sandwich is being heated. So we've entered the awkward few minutes of waiting while it heats. We had an old panini grill, and it would easily take 4 to 5 minutes before it would be ready. Nothing much happened for a couple of minutes when he speaks again.
How did you get here?
I drove.
Would you give me a lift?
At this point, I should mention that where I live and work, it's easily a 2-hour drive one way, and I was not, under any circumstances, going to drive for 4 hours, especially when I had to get up at 4 a.m. the next morning. No.
Why not?
Because I'm not a taxi service, I'm a barista. If you can't wait for your train, there are taxis outside that can take you.
Why can't you do it?
Because I'm a barista, and I have to go to bed at 9 if I want to get a decent amount of sleep tonight.
I still don't see why you can't.
It was at this moment that the timer went off and I said 1 moment to the guy, while I put his panini into a cardboard sleeve and handed it over to him with some napkins. This seemed to snap the guy out of his stupor, and he just thanks me and wanders off to Platform 2. Sorry it's not a satisfying ending, but it mystified me how he couldn't understand what I was telling him, and that I wouldn't drive him to York. I figured I'd follow his example, and the next time I went to Starbucks, I'd ask for a mocha and a ride to London. That's the job of a barista, right? If you made it this far, thanks for listening. 5. So I worked in a large retail store about 6 years ago now, and I had some odd experiences whilst working there. It was a large store which sold anything and everything: homeware, gardening equipment, toys, food, and seasonal goods. I worked in the arts and craft department, which suited me fine as I had recently finished my art degree and struggled to make my way in the world. You would have customers who came to you for advice on a product, and I usually gave that advice or pointed them in the right direction to what they were looking for. You get the idea. Anyway, there was one experience which will always stick with me. It was almost Christmas. We had a range of arts and crafts projects out for children which sparkled and glittered. I had just finished restocking the shelves with these items when I noticed a very seedy, middle-aged man on his own, staring at a big bottle of glitter glue. I went about my business and began to stock another shelf further down the way. From the corner of my eye, I saw him staring at me. It was usually quiet and no one else was around at the time. I put on my best customer service face and said, "Hello there, is there something I can help you with?" He continued to stare and slowly grinned at me with a mouthful of rotten teeth. He said nothing, but picked up the bottle of glitter glue and started to stroke it in a suggestive way. I stood there, no idea what to do, and continued to casually stock the shelf. I walked further on to continue work, and for 10 minutes didn't see the man again. I walked down another section, and it was a little darker than the rest of the store as they had a light display on, and the floodlights were switched off as to show the display. I noticed a head pop around the corner but didn't take any notice of it. I continued to work when I realized there was a horrible smell behind me. Before I had a chance to turn around, I heard a voice whisper in my ear,
You know, glitter is the herpes of the craft world.
followed by this man squeezing my bum. He dropped his basket right there and quickly ran off. I mean, what the fuck? I reported the incident to my supervisor, but nothing came of it. I was made redundant soon after Christmas, and nothing else was ever said about the incident. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Adventures in Fast Food and Retail, number 102. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. If you yourself have a story you'd like to send in, then please do send it along to kingofthecities@gmail.com. Also, and I'm only talking to a few of you here, but if you have sent me an email, and make sure you've cleared out your inbox enough that when I respond to you, you're actually going to get it. I've noticed a couple of people that have sent me stories in. I've tried to thank them or let them know when their stories are up of late, and the messages get bounced back because apparently the inbox might be full. Just so you know, in case you're wondering why I'm not responding. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up there. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.